and we are looking at the players getting ready here, locked in. We already have the first brawler locked in as well. Sandy on the right-hand side here, Shade, Crow, Ellie is going to be banned out. So a lot of those brawlers we just mentioned already out of the way. Ems and Spike and Rico as well, Kenny. Unfortunate.
I think you can tell instantly who has the first overall pick here. You're going to see Rico, Spike, and M, some of the top brawlers in the game right now. And on the other side, a lot of the times when you have that first overall pick, you're trying to line yourself up to get your first pick a priority or set yourself up later down the line. So Sandy at that first overall pick doesn't surprise me. Mortis at the 2-3 turn is something that I'm not used to seeing. When we watch these scrims, when we're studying these players, we can't tell the draft order. You just see the end result. So the fact that Mortis is still that high, kind of surprising to me. And also Charlie as a mid makes sense here, especially if that 2-3 pick, you kind of want to lock that in. I think that's going to be a preventative way of if they go with a sharpshooter, somebody that single shot Pierce, a popular one right now. Now they have Spiderlings at least to combat that.
And also just doubling down, having the Charlie, which is going to be a good response should it be left on the table for the opposition to be able to pick up. Mortis can be stunned out by the Sweet Dreams gadget of the Sandy, so there's a concern there. But regardless, I feel like Zeta Division have got a nice starting hand, but the question is, will Effortresult just double down with these Mortis counters?
My question would also be who's actually gem carrier on both sides so far. Kit coming in here as the assassin on the side of Effortresult. We talked a lot about Lily. She's still been completely untouched so far in this draft, but with Kit, they already have that assassin down. Now Sandy, I love to play him also on lane here, so I would expect here a Gus, maybe a Pam, just any gem carrier to come in here. Max, of course, the East Asia special still on the board as well.
That's the one thing missing from Effortresult's comp. So with pick number 5 here, I'm anticipating them to go for a mid as well. No, they're actually going to go aggressive. I'm assuming in this situation that Sandy's going to have to be the one to carry gems. Yeah, that's what I was worried about. So Trunk's going to come in here and add to their health points. If you're somebody like Zeta Division and you see Kit, who's an assassin, more of a squishy brawler, Lily, a tried and true one, Sandy, who deals okay damage, but it's a mid brawler. It's not necessarily going to get those quick frags. So now we're going to send the entire tree trunk and the ant army your way, and you're going to have a lot of health points to deal with.
So Charlie mid for Zeta Division, and that's going to be a brawler which, you know, is going to be quite lackluster into the Sandy for the Spiderlings. That's going to be taken care of in a single shot, so not going to be getting much value. So I imagine the Cocoon is going to be much more the healing prospect of which Zeta will be going for. Certainly, I think the aggression is on the side of Zeta. Trunk and Mortis, not an easy thing to shut down too frequently.
Well, Effortresult taking on Zeta Division for our opening match. Zeta Division, embarrassed after a world final, had to make a change. They're bringing in Batman, the Cape Crusader, taking on the mid right now. Jean automatically forced away. Suzuki already heavily in enemy lines. Jim's on the ground, all going towards the red side, which is going to be Zeta Division right now.
Oh, what a little cocoon there from Batman, just round the corner. And it will allow Suzuki to go in for the slice. Unfortunately, though, forced to retreat as Jean then coming back off the spawn. Nice super there from Tampo, follows up and does secure the takedown of Koga.
Now they're going to be able to flank on this left-hand side as well. The Hochi barely surviving with the tree trunk just lurking, stun going through. That's one of the beauties of Kit. It's not the best brawler in the game. It's not high on your tier list right now. But at a professional level, if they can utilize the mechanic well, this invisibility that you're seeing here, get a dash, get a kill, especially onto a gym grab carrier, it can swing an entire game.
Nothing there, though, for Jean. The entirety of Zeta forced to the left. Tampo now stunned out, but again, the helping hand is always there for Suzuki, the Sweet Dreams. But again, now with that hypercharge too, this is a really terrible position now for Effortresult to get out of this spawn.
This is a great job out of Trunk and Mortis to stay on the front lines, to grab those frags, and now as a result, Charlie can just sit back, relax, collect these gems. 11 on the countdown. Red roster, in this case, going to be Zeta Division, able to take off here.
Suzuki has got some gems here if they can get a reset, and that is the perfect person to do for, but there's one picked up from the mid just in the nick of time, but it will be reset. Now Tampo now in a dangerous, perilous position. Koga does find the takedown, but there's still a lot going on in the back spawn. The gems look safe and sound for now.
A great reset, not enough to collect them though. They're gonna have to split these launch Tampo and Suzuki. Now on that left-hand side, a little invisibility to assist them. Suzuki branching out, they have to expand. The more time that goes on, the easier it is to collect these mid-gyms. So if less Zeta Division can step up, grab a kill, it's going to be a tie ball game.
Effortresult are buying valuable time. Suzuki might be in trouble here as well, and that would be 3 over to Effortresult. 1 from the mid though. Hypercharge coming out. Wahochi pushing forwards into the mid, gets the gem as well. That's going to be key. Now Zeta Division have really got to go on the offensive. Can they get it done in time? That's the question. Reset. It's neck and neck.
There's one of the beauties of that Charlie Cocoon. Drops the gems instantly, and with 15 on the clock, this has been a back and forth Effortresult, putting up a great fight in the opening game. Another stun goes down, 2 gems being the separator, and 5 on the clock. They have to hustle up this map. Top right-hand side is where they need to lay on the fire. Suzuki with a super available, a protection there as well. Certainly closer than you would have liked to see out of Zeta Division, especially considering the legacy that these players have, how they performed in the last season. For somebody like Effortresult, who's a borderline top 8 team, somebody that didn't even make it to every monthly final last year, I think this is a good place to be.
Yeah, really quite close. Far closer than I was expecting to see things start off. And go into the next game. And certainly for Zeta Division, I thought this would be looking far, far cleaner.
I think a minor mistake there at the end of that first game, too, with Mortis just kind of dumping the gems on the other side. That's what allowed it to be a tie. So once again, we're going to see Zeta Division be able to extend their positioning, now able to move it down this map. It's going to force Effortresult all the way through. There's so many mechanics, though, that Effortresult have. I wasn't quite sure how this draft was going to play out, but you have somebody like Lily who can kidnap a player, take him to the Shadow Realm, grab some gems. Kit, of course, with a stun and some good team play, can also get an elimination. So there's plenty of upside with that composition.
Koga has got a hypercharge at a very early stage in this game. Gene as well. I was gonna say almost missed the jump there, but regardless, Suzuki will still get the pickup and remain in this back spawn side and be a pest for Effortresult. I think they just dipped his toe into the sandstorm and spotted. Look at this serious aggression. Koga is being a big thorn in the side of Zeta.
Koga's still lurking, and Kit ends up grabbing that kill, so now the blue side has 3 members standing tall. Hypercharge versus Tompo, but he gets stunned instantly. Suzuki there to back him up, does survive. Koga goes down, and that is a profitable trade for Zeta Division.
This is a good spot. Suzuki, though, can't outstay his welcome. It's the cardboard box from Gene pushing into a very aggressive position. Missed the swipe, so, and Zeta get the countdown. It's got to be a really aggressive stance now here from Effortresult. They're going to be able to do anything about this.
Purple button pop for Wahochi. Now Jane trying to dive in. Gadget to protect him. Batman needs to hold on for dear life. Such low HP, 484. Now they're going to scoop in Mortis, the gym carrier. Not what you want to see, but they still have the clock on their side.
Buying time still yet again, but it is Suzuki of which they need. And now pushing his way to the right. There's a hypercharge here on the Kit. Gene going in. Oh, the dash away from Suzuki just in the nick of time. Unless Koga can get a super, which he does, but there's no time now, surely. The gems are safe and sound. And the set goes the way of Zeta.
They took care of business. That's definitely the result they wanted. However, Effortresult contending there. That was a strong showing. This was a team coming out of qualifiers that I wasn't quite sure how they were going to do. Like we mentioned in the pre-show, somebody like Naipishu is a huge player to fill shoes in, and Koga is an unknown commodity. Not new to the game necessarily, has been competing, but it's one of these tier 2 guys looking to make a start, and you gotta start somewhere. Unfortunately for him, it just happens to be staring down the barrel of somebody like Zeta Division.
I think considering, though, that, for Effortresult, this is a massive mountain to climb. That was a great showing. That was not a stomp, not by a long shot on the side of Zeta. Towards the end, maybe looking more comfortable, less drops of the gems and resets of the countdown, but I mean, it was not straightforward, I felt.
Small sample size too, but you'll see here, having a new coach in Mameshi, I was curious to see if this team was going to adopt a super aggressive play style, something I think they're very comfortable with mechanics that they can execute through. In this case though, I think the draft kind of provided that. I think having somebody like Morris who they grabbed in that 2-3 turn, maybe early, maybe not, but that trunk at the very end, I think was just empowered by the kind of composition that ER went with. I think it's something aggressive for both of these ends, which I wasn't necessarily anticipating, so I'm curious if that's a trend that we see continue throughout the day, or if we see them deviate from that.
Well, new draft coming in shortly. And a chance for Effortresult to reset. I think there's definitely some positive words to be discussed in this bit of downtime because they did fantastically well, in my opinion. I mean, for Zeta Division, I've got a few question marks now, actually, myself, a little bit coming in because that should have been made look a little bit more easy, in my opinion. But nonetheless, an interesting draft. We're going to kind of unpack that somewhat because it's quite rare to pick a Mortis as early on as Zeta did.
I would say a Kit's not super normal on that map either. I think compared to a lot of other assassins that we're used to seeing, a couple of them banned, of course. We saw somebody like Ali get thrown out the window, but they were allowed access to somebody like Lily, somebody like Trunk in the mix too. I mean, these are some common brawlers that I don't think are necessarily ban-worthy, but I think it was almost too easy. I feel like Zeta Division were really contested. They weren't punished for the brawlers that they wanted. That's something out of Effortresult I would like to see a little more forethought. Now moving into Super Beach. Yeah, it's more of a mid-range map. Pierce is still the guy, though. Especially with a brawler like Ims being banned, I think this is a natural step into the next pick.
going to work in super well on this map for sure. You know, in Hard Rock Mine, a lot of that bush means that Pierce can't get much value. Here, there's a lot of cover, but also little bush. So Pierce is going to really get some good value here from Zeta. I love that. But the Frank, this is what we were discussing coming in. It's so dangerous. And Poco here is open. If Effortresult just want to run this down, it's going to be a tough ask for Zeta to defend.
Ooh, I think this is a great shot of you. I think the Poco is a good mindset. It is tough to contest with the range of Pierce, but if Poco's just kind of supporting Frank, they just have so many health points hurtling their way at the other side. Pierce can do a ton of damage, though. I think that's one of the unique things about being a sharpshooter with him is the amount of ammo replenishment that he can do. It just quickly adds up, but I still think going a tank makes sense as the right direction. They're pairing this with Cordelius, and the reason you're seeing this so early on in the draft is because they clearly are prioritizing getting rid of what they think is going to be a tough anti-tank. They pair anti-tank Cordelius with Frank to make Frank's life a little easier in the future.
Exactly that. It's kind of gearing up for a third and final pick Poco, in my opinion. But it makes perfect sense. You want to protect, you know, your main driving force of that comp. Griff going to come in for Zeta Division, which I quite like. I mean, breaking things open is definitely not the worst things in the world to allow Pierce to have more chance to be able to defend, because Frank pushing his way forwards requires a great amount of Pierce shots to take down. So I think it makes some sense. And Sandy to come in, which is a little bit counterintuitive. You kind of want Sandy to keep some cover. So I think having some good communication on the side of Zeta to ensure that they are breaking what they want to break and not leaving someone high and dry.
Now, this is quite the opposite strategy from Zeta Division compared to Hard Rock Mine, where they were so aggressive, had a tank, had an assassin, and now this is all control. I feel like they are more reacting outside of the Pierce pick, which was their first. But with the Sandy and the Griff, I think this is reactionary to what they're seeing. They want to go wall break. Sandy's one that I didn't quite see, but I think in terms of a one-on-one matchup into somebody like Cordelius, that's totally acceptable. Meeple coming in as well. So knowing there's wall break too, this is a bit peculiar to me, especially at a professional level more recently. I've seen the Rage Quit gadget, the stun, be more used, but when I look at these enemy composition brawlers, I feel like you almost have to use the Meeple Mansion, but that's kind of, you know, that's kind of counter to what they want to run. I'm a little bit shocked at these three brawlers. All good brawlers, but in tandem with each other, it's not quite making sense in my brain yet. I need to see this one play out.
Yeah, I've got to be honest, I don't know whether I'm much of a fan of the Meeple coming in here. I thought it was a very nicely laid out plan to come in with that Poco and just kind of run it down. And those sort of ideas can really work against teams like Zeta that really want to be more mechanical. It's a tougher thing to play up against. They are going to be running as well with the mansion. That I think is not my preferred gadget on this map either.
I think you almost have to. I mean, sometimes it can be a cheeky goal-scoring mechanic, or if they have like an enemy tank or assassin, somebody you need to quickly shut down, it's really helpful. But when I see Frank in the map and Cordelius, you almost have to rely on building your own map at this point, which is exactly what they're doing. Bohochi cycling in once again, going for the pull. Oh, and that's a tough clearing there. Could have been a real opportunity for Effortresult. Instead, though, they're going to be backtracking.
Batman is tapping. Bohochi now in a very tough spot as these shots are going to be continuing to come through the wall. Tampo will seal it. Here is the tanky brute, and the ball is protected by Gene, which is just going to allow time for Zeta to break things open more. I think Effortresult do need to start pushing back on this, or Tampo is just going to mold the map to what he wants it to be.
I'm fearful for Effortresult. The longer this drags on, like you mentioned, the more picky bakes that go down, the more open this map is. It's going to be tougher for somebody like Cordelius and Frank. Frank, thankfully, has so many health points to work with, over 15,000, which is something that Zeta Division are going to have to figure out how to shred through, but they need to find those early goals, and now that we're approaching the 1-minute marker, this is only going to be more of an uphill battle for Effortresult.
This is not the way. I mean, this really is not. Effortresult are looking very sheepish, and they're just kind of buying down the clock, and I mean, the map is going to be in an overtime scenario before we even get there at this rate with 1 minute left on the clock. Another wall goes out there from Weochi. That's kind of what they're waiting for. They want to cycle these Meeple gadgets to be able to push their way forwards, but I mean, I feel like they wanted to go with a much more aggressive approach. This is, I mean, look at Koga. He's been in that top left this entire time, man!
I mean, Frank's not moving a muscle. He's literally rotating in the little sliver of grass that he has on that L-shaped wall. And if you're Zeta Division, they're clearly feeling comfortable. They're not pushing the tempo either. They know if they get to overtime, the map opens up, but right now is an opportunity that Effortresult have to seize. A big Frank super, a bank off the wall. Oh, and just bounces in. Nearly a mistake there, but nonetheless, Effortresult utilized the one strength their composition has. 15 health points out of Frankenstein.
I would love to say that was style points, but I know it was not. Certainly a blunder, but one that that was been able to make good on by the end. But now Koga in a very difficult position here. He's got to be slow, cautious, and patient. Hypercharge for the Frank. Gene gets the ball. Surely takes it to safety now as well. And it looks like Effortresult may have just scraped their way through. It was not looking anywhere nearly as likely that that would be the case. But they capitalized down on that one moment and gave Zeta no time for a response.
Major credit to Effortresult, because I don't think that strategy was easy to run with all those walls taken down. Polar opposites here. I mean, Zeta Division very much coming in with a reactionary, matchup-dependent composition. I don't think this was necessarily the game plan. I don't think they walked in today thinking Grip is the way, that's what we're going with. But I think seeing the other end is something that they definitely benefited from. Now, Effortresult, I think, realizing they need to push the tempo early. Zeta Division unwavering, though. Right-hand side, a kick over to Shitampo, and he's going to slowly work his way up the map. So Zeta Division claiming control. The issue for their composition is they have to either find a Sandy gadget to knock it through the net, or some way to use their lower HP brawlers to move through.
You have to mix things up. A team like Zeta are going to adapt along the way, and it's just not going to fly. But for now, they can sit behind these walls. Let's see whether Koga is going to make any attempt to move from this top left. It's where he spent the majority of the game. I would love to see a heat map. It would be that blob in the top left. But now we're actually pushing the ball forwards with the help of the Mansion. Gene pushes his way forward as well, but shut down there by the Grip. And Suzuki now trying to push his way forwards to get the ball. A Sweet Dreams gadget is the perfect time, and he will get it! A goal for Zeta!
Excellent team play overall out of Zeta Division, because that could have been hairy. That was very similar to the scenario we saw in game number 1, where Frank just punches it through. Instead, Zeta Division take the entire team, focus their resources all on that Frank, get the stop, super pass forward, just excellent work overall. Job's not done yet, though. Effortresult now using some stuff. Oh, it's Shitampo with a nasty super. Just clears the way for his team.
Yeah, disgusting from Shitampo. He is a key component in this draft for Hypercharge, for Gene, and with the Buffy as well. That's such a dangerous prospect. But the time is going to be right to push, and Effortresult do not want to go in prematurely. Oh, look at these taps from Batman now as the Pierce really giving Gene a tough time here to push forwards.
Doing their best to rotate in the Meeple Mansion, but unfortunately not enough. Shitampo is just slowly carving away at this map, while Hochi relying on this little three-pronged wall in the middle just to try and land some shots, while Meeple's shot does auto-aim a little bit, even into somebody like Pierce. As long as Batman's hitting, he's got the extra range. He's got the super that he can utilize. I think this is a very tough position with 30 on the clock for Effortresult.
It's going to be very, very hard now as Zeta are just all ready for this push. They've got the goal. They can sit back. It's Effortresult. They've got to do so in 20 seconds, and it is go time. Hypercharge for Gene, the Mansion gadget there, being able to cover him a little bit, but absolutely eradicated. Zeta not giving an inch to Effortresult and punishing it in this set. We're going to be all tied up. There is no time for Effortresult to even get to the ball. That is a great response, a great adaptation there from Zeta to tie up this set.
Stark difference from game number 1. To your point, Zeta Division made Frank much more of a priority. If they lock out the Frank, if they don't allow him any free walks down the map, you saw it there, he had to just trek so much distance to go grab that ball. If Zeta Division can somehow find a decently timed goal, if they take a 1-0 lead, or even if they go into overtime, it's fine. You just gotta make sure you're prioritizing things like that Griff Super or the Standy Sun for you scoring goals or making sure Frank can't walk any further up.
For me, Effortresult are so dependent on these Mansions of Meeple gadgets, and the cooldown's 22 seconds. That doesn't give you many instances to be able to place on the map, and the more time that they're not going on the aggressive, the more time that is allowed for those piggy banks from Shitampo, and it just places them in a very tough spot to be able to push forwards because Gene is so susceptible now of a nice stun, a nice smash to follow it up. These Pierce shots are really keeping him just suppressed at all times. Batman knows his role in this game.
First time we've really seen the Meeple of Mansion be utilized in combination with the Frank super. He can tear down those walls, trap an enemy. Still, despite using all of those supers and gadgets, it's not enough. Zeta Division's still in control, despite having brawlers with, at most, what, 9,100 HP compared to something like 15,000 in Frank. Now he's going to use his super, trades a kill. Oh, the double as well. Now they can penetrate through the walls. This Meeple super being used for extra damage. If Koga gets a trap on one of these, if he can land a Shadow Realm, ooh, I thought there was possibly potential for them to march forward. I think the respawns out of Suzuki were too much, though. Now a hypercharge coming out of Shitampo. He's put his foot on the gas pedal. They're expanding on this left-hand side. Oh, a perfectly timed super out of Koga. Shitampo once again going to grab this ball, a kick over. They're just trying to hold on for as long as possible. Unfortunately, single shot brawler Wahochi not able to do it 2 brawlers at once.
Yeah, Zeta now are cooking. Their strategy is really starting to prevail. But there is time here for Effortresult. Gene just cannot catch a break, though, since that first game. He's been suppressed so frequently. 2 down for Effortresult. It's just Koga. No sewer for defense here. Surely Zeta will body block their way forwards to score it. And that is the set. Zeta will take yet another to go 2 sets up.
Very commendable adjustment there coming out of Zeta Division. In the draft, they were very clearly trying to match what Effortresult had. Pierce as a first overall brawler, it's just one of the best brawlers, if not the best brawler in the game right now. Can't fault them at all for that. The Griff wall break and something in combination with the Sandy Super was enough to take down the enemy side. I understand why they want to take Frank. It's a very strong brawler. Frank has a great win rate in scrims across the world. If you pair that with something like a Cordelius, short range, it is a great one to take away from the enemy team into Frank, but I just like that Zeta Division had a backup plan. They were able to adjust on the fly. They didn't have to necessarily rely on that traditional hard counter. They got creative with it. I think having somebody like Meshi in the room really adds. It's just one more voice. It's one more person to tell you, hey, don't panic. We've got other options. I really like this adjustment as Zeta Division, a completely different way into going into this set compared to the first one, yet the same result.
13 for Tampo. I mean, that's more than the entirety of the opposition of Effortresult. 12 for Batman. That's 2 more than the entirety of Effortresult. I mean, absolutely disgusting stats here for me. It's such a prominent set from Zeta. I mean, you know, that is just speaking volumes for me.
I was just scared of Shtampo there the whole time, honestly. I never want to face his Griff. He absolutely was a menace. Opening up the map, like you said, and then combining that with a Pierce was definitely the way to go in this map. Yet, it was a sign of life from Effortresult in this one. They did actually take the first game. I feel like we saw a potential in them that maybe they can even take a set today.
As far as 2-0s are concerned, I feel like this is one of the more competitive showings. I mean, this is all I can ask out of Effortresult. Again, this is a team that I really thought was going to be a borderline top 8. If they missed out on this month compared to some of the other teams that were just short, wouldn't have surprised me. But this is a great showing. Again, I think this is a confidence booster. Somebody like Koga just now coming in. He has to face Shitampo and his gang of people who are very devastated out of following his short, and his Griff, and a lot of DPS coming out of Pierce. Look, all things considered, I think this is pretty solid out of them.
Yeah, I feel like, for me, it could have been a lot worse, couldn't it? I mean, at the beginning, I was not sold, especially when I saw the just sheepishness of Effortresult, and they had to make the move. When they did, they were able to get some results off the back of it. But Zeta are a team that are going to adapt. They've got, you know, voices in their ears telling them, you've got to make a change. This is not going to work out. And you know, they were able to increase the pressure cooker. And then you start to see the mistakes rolling in because Effortresult are not the team with that kind of stature. They are going to make mistakes. They are going to be much more nervous than Zeta, it's fair to say. And as time goes on, I think that only kind of serves to go against them in this matchup.
It's definitely a conversation to be had how important draft truly is at this day and age. I feel like it might be even a bit more important than how you actually play in the set, because if you have a draft that just does not work out, you can't win the set. Yeah, here they had a Griff, they open up the map, and both the Cordelius and the Frank don't really profit from that. So maybe that's Memeshi working his magic.
Yeah, hard to say. Obviously, we're not in the room, but I really think it can't hurt. Obviously, we got to see how this goes throughout the season, throughout the day, but a 2-0 start, can't complain. I mean, that's all you can do at this point. Gene is the first overall pick when we move into this map. Of course, it's going to be Gold Arm Gulch that we're approaching. Gene's such a dependable one. It's somebody that's really pesky with the poke damage, Vengeful Spirits as a gadget. If you need an emergency, click this to get some extra kills. And then, of course, a Magic Hand can shift an entire round. So love to see that. Naturally, as a response, Bell is going to be somebody that counters that. So it's going to be a brawler that relies on Gene being clustered together, using the Magic Hand to kill teammates, and now Bell with a bounce shot can deal with that.
And we actually learned that Koga's favorite brawler is Bell. Gold Arm Gulch, her home. So if you ever want to play her, this is definitely the map. I love to see that he is falling back to comfort picks now. Bell might not be the best in the meta, but definitely has a right to be played on this map. Now on this other side of Zeta Division, we still have many brawlers open that we usually see or we saw in scrims. Rico, definitely one of them, super strong, one of the best ones without the buffy. I'm still waiting for an RT and DOS maybe, Gark.
I mean, Gene and Rico have got some big susceptibilities. I mean, an Edgar could do a lot of work here. Gene knockback going to do only so much before the fisticuffs will really land a punch. You know, we heard from Koga that he was going to destroy on this Bell, but it's just not a meta brawler pick For Kaze, certainly what I'm looking at to be marked up, but you know, Kaze can also just evade those marks so easily. I feel like it's going to be quite tough here with the aggressiveness that Zeta have got, the control of the Rika, the heals of the Gene. I feel like whatever Effortresult want to go with next, Mina, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much one of the best that they could. But this could be the final set for me.
Once again, two very different strategies, and I think Frank is a key brawler to keep your eye on. He has 15,000 health points. He's very strong in the meta. There's a lot he has to work with. On the other side, Gene's somebody that does poke damage. Kaze is an assassin. Obviously can't match that kind of high health pool that somebody like a Frank has, but Rico deals so much damage. The high DPS, the long-range super, it's a problem. I think this is one of the better maps for Rico. I think this is a sneaky good pick out of Zeta Division. I think there's very big potential that this could be a 3-0 right here.
And when you've got a Frank, you know, and then you see the Rico, are you going to break open the map? No, because you can get Frank to use those walls. So definitely going to be a tough situation here. Tampu already scouting and knows for sure that there is no one on the left-hand side. They are safe. Now it's down to, you know, this is the kind of thing that makes me nervous because Wahochi's on the bell. So, you know, is it going to fare as well here for Effortresult? They need to start laying down some nest eggs. I haven't seen the reverse polarity gadget be used just yet. But I haven't seen any nest eggs placed in the map, so questioning a little bit there on that side of things, as Zeta look to be a bit more confident as we get things going.
Effortresult very reserved to start out here. They're not necessarily asserting their dominance. It's just Frank in the back line, somebody like Mina, in and out, bounce shot for Bell every once in a while. As a sharpshooter, she can afford to stay back. But I think somebody like Zeta Division kind of spreading the floor a little bit. They've got Kaze lurking on this bottom side, Rico looking for bounce shots. I think if Effortresult aren't careful, especially when the Spog starts to close in, they're going to be a bad position.
No nest eggs for Bell. It is reverse polarity, which is going to make them very much more susceptible to these Kaze pushes. And look at this now. Everyone pinched for Effortresult, and a pull available for Batman. There's the windmill gadget of the Mina. There's a pull there from Gene as well. He gets some great slams, and it makes it 2 versus 1. A super will keep Suzuku suppressed, and the HP surely in the side there. Wochi, he gets the round.
That was certainly potential for Zeta Division to win. I feel like Kaze at the very end there, just missing a couple tags. Definitely a tough one to come through with. But overall, especially considering how patient Effortresult were, I think that's ultimately what they want to see there. This time, though, it's going to be much more difficult. All three of them now corralled in this top right-hand corner. Suzuku using a gadget. They're marching in unison, though. Now this is scary. Suzuku has to just run for the hills.
A very tough spot here. A great windmill there from the Mina. Also, oh, what a pull! Bannerman nails it right at the cusp. A single pixel was all that separates him between that and a miss.
That's all the difference in the world, too. Gene has the ability to turn the tide at a moment's notice. Nailing that pull puts professional players, some of the best in the world, some of the best mechanical players in a 3v2 situation. If you're Effortresult, this is a huge uphill battle to climb for the round.
And now if you Zeta just try to allow Batman to climb back that utility, got hypercharges there for Suzuku and Shitampo. They're going to be used as an emergency maneuver, I feel, because they're going to want to be reserving that for the third and final round.
Ideally, they can save that, especially in a 3v2 situation. Shitampo letting loose, though. Suzuku diving forward. A single-shot brawler, 3v1 situation. Wahochi knows better. Going to not feed a single more tag. It's conceding the round, but more importantly, it's not giving it more utility. So it's not necessarily quitting. It's kind of a strategical step back at this level.
Also hypercharges here for Effortresult. Zeta the first to show their hand from Suzuku, and it does bring back Effortresult into their spawn side. That's kind of not going to be great for the Frank. Shitampo can find a nice angle, but the hypercharge will close the gap quickly. Oh, look at that for Shitampo, using the wall to ricochet those shots. And it leaves Effortresult in a 2 versus 3. Gene trying to make his best of it. Oh, Shitampo's on fire, but it's now a 2 versus 2. Gene gets the pick up, and Batman can't close the gap.
That's a great gadget. Gene in a tough situation, though. Trying to recharge, not enough. It's going to have to be a double. The tornado only connects with one, though. That Twister not nearly doing enough damage. Out of all brawlers in a 2v1 situation, this isn't the worst, but for new player Koga, this is a tough spot to be in.
Yeah, no utility. Oh, but a missed pull there from Batman does give some grace. Can Koga dance his way around this quite literally on this Mina pick to try to get some value? It's going to be very tough now. There is the Vengeful Spirits as well to whittle him down, and Zeta are playing this perfect. A windmill will only, I'm sure, delay the inevitable. It's a very, very tough ask. He does his best, but Zeta do clear up the scraps and move on to match point.
One game away. #1 seed of 2025, looking to repeat. Shitampo has never missed that mark. Since 2021, he has been the #1 seed as being APAC or East Asia, however the region's been aligned in those past years. After a devastating World Finals, this would be setting things right. This would be the first step in a long road to redemption.
I feel like Zeta are starting to really display their confidence. That first set, I had some question marks, and I did still in the second, but now they are really cooking. Let's see, Wahochi very low there on that top side. Tampo there, utilizing some of the healing. Getting some good taps now. The windmill gives a little bit of grace, but there, Wahochi falls, low HP, and that's a terrible time to do so.
Oh, I can't wait to see Shitampo's stats at the end of this one. Another frag going down. Koga, the last man alive. And I think just trying to get some extra tags to move in with a super. Koga has now charged it, going to die immediately. I think that's a fair trade, all things considered. They have to give themselves a fighting chance. Zeta Division, I believe, have a full house walking into this. All three of them, two of them have a super. But I think Gene's going to be rather close here, especially with that poke damage.
Now is such a difficult spot for Effortresult. Hypercharge here for Tampo, finding the wall, but a great gadget there from Koga. A fantastic response, but the Fanstorm goes down. A pull from Bannerman will secure the takedown. Effortresult now are floundering. Gene falls. Koga's the last man alive yet again in a 1 versus 2. He's got the might of the world against him here, as Zeta now have got all the time to be able to take their way around this. Koga now 742 HP, and the inevitability surely is just creeping in. There it is. Zeta secure the match, and they move on to the semi-finals. For Effortresult, there was an effort, but the results were lackluster.
Right back where they left off in 2025, being at the top of this region. Semi-final bound is Zeta Division. I think a very respectable showing out of Effortresult. That third one got away from them a little bit, but as far as sets 1 and 2, in my mind, the history book's going to show a 3-0, but this is a team with promise. This is something they can build off of, especially with Koga being his first day. I thought that was overall pretty decent. This is a tough team to win. We didn't expect them to do much. We expected a 3-0. I was certainly entertained by it.
Yeah, it was for me a good showing, nonetheless. You know, it was always going to be a tough ask to even claim a single set for Effortresult here. Zeta Division, despite finishing off 2025 in very much not the way that they wanted, they did come in and start things off strong in their home region.
It was very lovely to see that we did see some signs of Effortresult definitely having what it takes to maybe even beat Zeta